Alright, here's the first step of doing this rear end. So mine is already shortened. I already cut it down. I used just a carbide saw to cut the ends perfect 90. I'm not beveling my ends because these ends that I'm using, these strange ends, overlap anyways. So I don't think there's any need to bevel this down really. I might put a real fine bevel on it just to get rid of the little bit of rust or surface stuff that's there, but I'm using strange ends. There's the part number if you need it. These are new Ford style or Torino style big bearing ends. The kit I got to do this is leadmineproducts. You can get them off of eBay, or I guess you can go to that website. Already got all my brackets welded on, you saw in the previous videos. So the first part of the kit comes with these inserts. You have to have a third member to use this. They also sell a block, a billet block aluminum with these machined into the caps that you can spend. I think it's like another 75, 80 bucks to get that. But if you get these, they say on there that they might be a little bit undersized, so you have to put a piece of paper to make them snug so they don't slide in and out. I just kind of snug these down tight, just hold them in place. And they come with these. There's small bearing and big bearing ends, and there's the size on it right there. It doesn't have the size on the other side, but it's the, I don't remember what the outer diameter of the small bearing ends is, but anyways, that fits the big bearing end. Voila. So you slide this big ass 1.25" rod through the housing, which you can get these at any kind of metal yards, or if you have a friend like me that works in a machine shop or a steel shop, they might be able to hook you up for cheap. So get these bolted in, bolt the third member into the housing, slide the rod through, slip these into the ends, which I'll bring it back in a sec with another video clip to show once it's assembled. You put these on the outside and tighten down the Allen screw and holds it in place. Simple, simple. Then you'll need the tack the opposite, and do a crisscross, tack and tack, and then I'd weld it in fourths. Weld, 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 etc. Prevent the pull. Each time you do tacks and welds, you need to rotate the rod and make sure that it's not binding. If you ever start getting binding, you can try to weld on the opposite side to pull it back. If it doesn't, if by the time you're done and it's still binding, cut it off, do it again. You have binding on the rod, you're gonna have binding on between the axle and the bearing, and you're gonna burn up a bearing. All right? It's a nice rod, right? Yeah, it is. So anyways, got the rod in. So I tried the paper trick around the inside bushings that are in the third member, and when I tried to slide the rod through, there was a little bit of a burr and the bushing popped right out. So pulled the third member off again, untorqued the caps, and I wrapped one layer of blue masking tape around the internal bushing pieces, and they held fine, and also sanded over the burr that was catching on. So I got the rod through. Now I'll take you to this end so you can see why you align this stuff instead of just centering. I don't know if you can tell that from this angle or not, but it's ever so slightly off, leaning that way. Now, because that rod is kicked slightly this way, this that was cut at a perfect 90 with this tube is actually not correct. This is the high spot, and there's a gap all the way around the rest of it. So you can try to weld this as is, and you'll probably end up pulling to the gap side, and then your bearing's gonna drag and you're gonna burn up bearings. So what you have to do is take your time and make these perfect. Spend the extra time grinding these. Make them a nice flat surface for these housing ends to fit on. So I marked the high spot with permanent marker on both sides. Of course, it was the same on both. I'll slide the rod through so I don't get grind grit all over the rod. And I'm gonna hit this with a flap disc and bring it down. And I'm gonna keep fitting that end on there until it's where I like it. I'll bring it back once I get this stuff fitted up and I get this metal turned down to where it's the right nice flat surface for that housing to sit on. All right. All right, so I got my ends ground down to where they're smooth. You can still see a little bit of a gap if you line it up, just that. Might come back and adjust that a little bit more. That wasn't there earlier, so I must have put it there whenever I beveled it a little bit. So probably come back and do that again. This side, however, still golden. So one bit of information I should have found out before I got to this point. I just kind of judged off of this other housing of the angle that these go. Now I've seen videos where they weld these up and they throw an angle finder on them, but I don't ever hear them say what the freaking angle is, and you can't tell. So one thing I did just discover, I tried to get my angle off of this to use off of this flat right here, and the angle of this is not the same as the angle on this strange one. So I'm thinking they go off the bolt hole angle, even though they mounted the angle finder on this, and it was some strange housing ends that I was watching the guy weld. I think it was Fab Form's guy, one of his videos where he did 4 9-ends on an 8.8. But anyways, somebody comment so I'll know for next time if it ever gets to that. But I'm going to pretty much 90 these bolts to the housing face. That seems to be a happy medium, and when I talked to Wilwood, he said it really doesn't necessarily matter the angle other than mounting the brakes. That's the only part where it comes into play as being a factor. I mean, your axle hold down doesn't matter. If you're running drums, I don't think it matters really all that much other than the cable coming out of it. But they're damn near 90, so a few degrees off I don't think it's gonna matter. I mean, I do have the Wilwoods with the internal drum, so I will have a cable going to it. But I don't think a few degrees clocked or counterclocked is gonna really matter. So I'm just doing it flat 90. That way I'm pretty sure my caliper will be dead to the side here. And the way these will lay out is the fronts, the calipers towards the back, and the rears, from what I saw in the pictures, the calipers towards the front right here. So I'm about to throw these together. I believe I'm gonna tack with a MIG welder, because from what I've heard, the MIG tends to pull the least. I guess because it feeds the wire in. So it kind of helps to lessen the amount of pull it's gonna have to want to pull it off. Now I did notice, I think this rod I have is slightly off. It's not perfect true. I didn't spin it with a dial indicator, but I'm pretty sure it's a few thou off. I don't think it'll matter the amount, the little bit of it that it is off, because these end bushings don't, I don't know if you can hear this or not, but you can maybe see it. Yeah, you can see that. So it's got a little bit of play in these bushings anyway, so it's not going to be a perfect machinist true fit. But I'll bring it back when it's tacked, I guess. I took the metal or the coating off the end. I didn't take it off this lip. I don't know if I'm going to or not. I guess I'm going to see how it welds, and if it smokes like crazy or if it gives problems, then I'll come back with the little 90 Ziz wheel, or what, not Ziz, but the die grinder, and take some coating off before I'll finish welding it. I'll probably tack with the MIG in the 4 corners, and then I might TIG the rest of it. I might just MIG it, I don't know. It all depends on just what I feel like. So this is what it looks like right now though. And like I said, this rod should free spin. I'm not gonna spin it right now because I've got these pretty much clocked where I want them. And I'll recheck that in down there once I get this one tacked. But the way it's coming out on these strange is about 15 degrees. And it's 15 degrees on each side. So that, as long as these are evenly machined on each side, that should give me a perfect 0 across the bolt holes without me having to put bolts through them or a flat edge and all that shit. But bring it back in a few once I get it welded, or at least tacked. All right, So they're tacked in place. They look to be welding fine without spitting and sputtering. Oh, if I can get the camera on where it's supposed to be. So I think I'm gonna leave that coating. It seems to be a weldable coating, whatever it is. It's very thin, brushed on. While I'm here, look at that beauty. Oh, she's so pretty. Oh, find where my camera's pointing at. Oh, so pretty. I don't remember if this one right here is. It's decent. Anyways. Now. Oh yeah, I'll show you the, grab my seat. Scoot around. So that's what the inside looks like. There's that bushing that's clamped in. Now here's what you want to see. And my light that cuts off every time I hit something. Alright, so this is what you want to see. Smooth rotations. Now it's got a little bit of a bind on it, which I had previously before I even welded. I think that's a little bit of a curve because it's all smooth till it gets to one little section, which is right there. And it binds just a bit of roughness and it rolls on around. That was already there, so I know to expect it. Yeah. That's what you want to see. No binding on this bushing. This bushing here should probably rotate easily. See that? That's what you want. The rod should spin. This end bushing should spin. You're binding this, you'll bind a bearing. Cut the tacks, re-tack it. Do not try to keep welding this up thinking it'll be fine. Alright? So, I'm gonna finish welding this up. I'll probably throw 4 more MIGs around in between these, and then I might TIG it up and go over it. The MIGs with the TIG to smooth it all out and make it look prettier. I mean, the whole thing's getting coated anyways with like probably 415 or that MasterSeries stuff. But I'm gonna try to make it as nice as I can and make sure these housing ends are nice and strong, and I know the TIG will make it nice and strong. But I'll bring it back once I'm done welding it, or at least once I get to the point of where I'm tired of welding, one of the two. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Keep it up. Alright, well there's a finished rear end, or at least welded rear end. I'll probably go over these welds with a TIG once more to make them prettier, because these are freaking ugly as hell. This housing's like impossible to move around with this rod through it, and I don't have the room or whatever to spin it on the table. So I was having to weld in weird positions, and I kept dipping tungsten and not feeding filler fast enough so it'd melt in or burn into the tube. But more or less, if you have the room and the patience and the time to actually adjust this how it needed, or if you have someone to help you lift it up and move it, but this thing's heavy as hell with that third member, the rod, all these brackets, everything is just, it's too heavy for me to try to move on my own and not hit this rod up against everything in the shop. And not to mention burn myself because the damn thing's hot as hell because I've been welding on it. But anyways, this is what you're after. More or less, full nasty ugly welds. Preferably not nasty ugly welds, but anyways, this. See that? That should be able to move. Same over here. Should be able to move. Rod should still spin freely. That's what you're after. You're not after these nasty ass looking welds. But I might just hit these damn things with a flapper disc and smooth them out and call it golden. I don't know. But on to some things that I was playing around with while I was waiting for the welder to cool down between burns so I didn't overheat it. If I can get this glove back off. There we go. Look at them smexy things. Yeah. Them's pretty. When I have the calipers on, I'll probably come out and shim them up just to see how they fit and how they look, get a picture maybe. But here these are. One thing I do have to go look up is the bearing preload, how to measure it on these fronts. And I'm pretty sure you just tighten this nut until you start to get it resistance where you can't just free spin it like that probably. Now I might be able to free spin with the weight of this rotor helping it, but with the hub it doesn't free spin. So I'm thinking you just tighten that nut as you're doing this, and it ought to have a little felt resistance to it, and then just snug it a little bit more to make it, you know, good and snug, you know, or for you German guys, good and tight. But I didn't get a video of installing these. They're pretty straightforward. So on the back there is a larger bearing race, and you obviously have to coat the shit out of that with some grease, high temp, like disc brake grease or bearing grease. But I just got some 3M, threw some 3M on that bad boy, packed it in there good, set it in. It's got a seal that goes in the back. Hammer that down flat. Let's see if you can see the seal. Don't know if you can catch that. That's the seal right there. You see the little lip. That's the seal. So you get that bearing in there, pop the seal in, throw the hub on. You got another bearing right here. You can see this the red grease there. Pack that bearing, put it in, seat it. It's got this little flat washer deal here. Put that on, tighten the nut down, and you put the capture nut on. If I can figure out where this thing was again. It's close. Call that golden. The other side I think I snugged up a little bit more than this one. I'll probably have to come back and adjust them. I'm gonna go look up and see if there's an actual way to read these. The rotors, I'm probably gonna end up getting some nice surface rust on. I threw just a light coat of oil on them just to keep them for now. Yes, I know that oil's probably gonna soak into these rotors some. It'll burn off whenever I heat these bad boys up, no worries. It's kind of odd, I don't know if that's done to balance them or what. Let's see if there's another one. There's the piece of paper towel from where I was coating them. There's one there. Nope, just one. So there's one little machining spot here. Assuming that's for balancing, I'm not positive. Anyways, that's the brakes. The backs are gonna look identical to this. They are the exact same rotor and hat, I believe. And these are 14-inch. I am very, very psyched to get this thing on wheels. So my goal for the end of the day is to have this axle finished up with all the welding, which I'm pretty much done unless I want to go over these beads. I need to get it coated with the etch stuff, and I might be able to spray one coat of paint on them before the end of the day. But my goal was to get this done so I can get this sucker bolted in. I may have to order shorter studs, as I said previously. Rudder mentioned an issue about those long studs might be bottoming out on my lugs, which I already figured might be an issue. So I'll probably get one of the wheels down and throw the caliper on the wheel, on the hub, and on the axle flange thickness, and then see how much I have to work, find out if it'll actually bottom up or it'll be perfect fit. If I have to, I'll probably just drill the tops out of those lugs. Either that, or I'll pay 10 bucks and order some shorter studs. I don't remember who makes them. It's like Duncan or some shit like that. I don't even remember. But somebody, they got them on Summit for like 10 bucks. I'll order them with the next order because I need to order head gasket, intake gasket, ARP head studs, or not head studs, main studs for my girdle, and my dipstick, and some other various items or whatever to fill the order up. But that's it. That's all it takes to shorten one of these. Like I said, one of these rods, you can get these from a steel yard for I want to say they gave me a quote for a 10-foot piece being 40 bucks, 50, 60, somewhere in that ballpark. These suckers are right at 110, 115 bucks from eBay. I don't know if you can get them cheaper direct. The website didn't even look. But, that's it guys. Thanks for watching. Next time, hopefully you'll see these brakes finished up front with the caliper on. And this bad boy assembled, at least painted, if not assembled none of the car, but at least painted next time it comes around. If I decide to paint it or get it painted today, I might go ahead and throw that video clip on here as well, just to show you what the end product looks like. But that is it. This, in case you're wondering, that's the vent tube, filler cap, and I got a drain on the bottom if I can rotate this thing without tipping it over, and drain. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.